Hi everyone, it's Majori here from the Punk Priestess, and welcome to the Astrology and Tarot of April 2025. And we have so much to get into. We're going to talk about the astrology first, and it's already on fire. I mean, we're in Aries season. I'm in Aries, so I love that my season is starting off with a bang, as it should. And, we just finished an eclipse season, so that was very pivotal. And we also have Neptune in Aries, so that hasn't happened in 150 years. And then we still have Venus and Mercury retrograde and Aries moving into Pisces. So there's just so much going on. And I'm not surprised that this warrior persona is really potent right now. I mean, that is Neptune and Aries. It is spiritual, it's the warrior of a spiritual warrior. And, we're really trying to reclaim our time, reclaim our energy, reclaim our power from the negative evil forces as at be. And, already April 1st, yesterday, we had Cory Booker's monumental, historic filibuster. And then we also had Wisconsin continue to hold the Democratic fort for the Senate. And, the revolution will not be bought. The revolution will not be bought and the revolution will not be televised. I've been already attending protest and it's just, mind-boggling how, so many people are showing up to these things, but you only see a little bit of footage on social media and the news, like they're pretty much bought out. You can't trust the news anymore, but they're not showing like the reality of what is happening in this country and what's going on. And so, it's all written in the stars. The astrology is like, playing in our face at this point. But I think it's really important that, really like the revolution is not being televised. Even with all this technology and all this awareness, we're still not seeing the facts. You have to go on world news TikTok to see all the protests happening, not only worldwide, but actually nationwide too. And then we have this monumental protest happening on April 5th that is nationwide. So, we're going to see the results of that. But it's just like, the people are angry, the people are fighting. And that's just one thing I knew that this administration was going to fail at, was to try to conform us and to try to subject us to rules and obligations and take away our power and our freedom. And, Neptune and Aries, and as we're having Saturn join Neptune and moving into Aries next month, like, don't play with our freedom. Like, Aries do not like to be told what to do. So, good luck. So we're kind of seeing this like fiery energy, like people waking up. Like Neptune is out of the sign of Pisces. It's out of disillusionment. It's out of the cult mentality. It's out of conspiracy theory. It's like we're now real. Like this cycle is over. We're entering a new page. We're entering a new beginning, and we're waking up to reality. The rose-colored glasses are off. The spell is broken or becoming broken for those who were under the spell. For those who have already been awakened and never was under the spell, it's just fueled the anger. It's fueled the irritation. And when Aries, sees red, reaches their boiling point, like they're gonna go off. So I can attest to that. I gotta count to 10 sometimes because I just know that if I see red, I'm gonna go after that waving flag. So the people are going after the flag. On my Substack, I will be posting all of the main transits for the month. So every first of the month, I post that on social media. So I'll add that to this post here. So you'll have those dates and those degrees. But yeah, just kind of like what's going on, the main events, and then we'll talk about some of the mundane transits of April. So, Mercury, it's currently retrograde and it's now back into Pisces. It will be going direct on the 7th of April, and it's going to be in Pisces at 26 degrees and 50 minutes. We have our full moon in Libra at 23 degrees and 20 minutes. And we have Venus going direct in Pisces at 24 degrees and 37 minutes. So with all of this energy kind of going back into Pisces, like the Mercury and Venus, it's going to be conjuncting the North Node that's currently in Pisces right now. So yesterday, we just had Venus conjunct the North Node in Pisces at 27 degrees and 20 minutes. And then on the 4th, we're going to have Mercury conjunct the North Node in Pisces. So, and that's going to be at 27 degrees and 17 minutes. So Venus and Mercury are following each other. They're connecting with the North Node. It's bringing up a lot of past cycles and things. And, these cycles are 9, 10 years old. So, we're really kind of reflecting on how we've been shrouded from the truth, how we've been disillusioned. And, there has been this psychological warfare that has been affecting people's mentality and their awareness and consciousness in this country. And like also, nationwide too, but it's like no one in their right mind would be in this MAGA cult, but here we are. And, people are being enlightened, and it's unfortunate that it takes people, to lose everything to wake up. That's usually a cult mentality. It's like, when you leave a cult, I mean, I've never been in a cult myself, so I can't relate, but if you watch cult documentaries, like I love a good cult, like not the mega cult, but I love, watching true crime documentaries or just like the historic cults. Like Jonestown, like, the different ones, and seeing, the whole trajectory of how people got indoctrinated in that cult and then what took them to actually leave. And, a lot of them, they discard everything, family, their values, their sense of awareness, and their critical thinking skills. And they will give up everything for a false prophet, for a false leader. And we're seeing that play out with a lot of people in this country. But it's just kind of, you can think about Neptune and Pisces, in 2011, and the cycle of like social media, where it began and where it is today. And I've noticed a huge shift in myself. Like it took me a while to really get into social media. I remember when Facebook started coming out, I was in 10th grade, and I noticed a lot of my friends getting Facebook, and I was like the last one to kind of get Facebook. I was like rebelling against it. I'm like, I'm not going to do it. Like that's, why would I do that? And I don't need that in my life. And, but then I remember, getting Facebook, and then I never had AIM. I never had MySpace. I like Facebook was my first social media platform. And then when I went to college, I remember my freshman year of college when Instagram came out. And got Instagram. I had Snapchat for a little bit, but I never really messed around with Snapchat, so I got rid of that. And then, fast forward to 2020, we have TikTok that really exploded, and now there's so many other like different platforms and things like that. Oh yeah, Twitter. I remember Twitter. I had Twitter for a little bit. I never really used Twitter that much. That was also something, I think that was like my freshman or sophomore year of college, getting Twitter, now X, whatever. So it's just kind of interesting to see like the mind rots, literally the brain rots from 2011 to 2025, where we are right now. And yeah, it's interesting too. I've noticed a huge shift within the past like 3 years with my social media habits. And like, I just don't have the time. Like I'm living my life. I'm about to get married soon. Like it's just, I don't have the time. And I was talking about this with my fiance the other day. I was like, we were collectively happier without social media. And it's totally true. Like, we need these social platforms. I think where they're turning to now as a source of news and a source of sharing. I mean, it's always been, it wasn't always like that. It was more so, okay, post a picture of your sandwich and your latte and, your family. But now it's more so, and then it got like very businessy and like, small business, but also now it's just like, you can't go on, Instagram or social media without running into some type of news, as it should. We need to be informed, and we need people to move us away from these legacy media companies like, Fox and things like that, who are distorting the truth. Like, so social media is good. Like I'm happy that we have, TikTok still. And even though that was a whole ruse, and I can go on about, the manipulation with that. As, people are discussing war plans and Signal, stupid. But, I really do feel that, yeah, it's kind of like social media is like this echo chamber for us to, really connect with what's going on, and having our own solidarity without turning on the news to get that confirmation. So it's really nice to be like, okay, like these people think the same way I do, or I'm seeing like a lot of this, and it's not just coming from my mind, you know. So it's kind of nice to have that solidarity and that backup. But I think it's really interesting how, as we're reflecting on Neptune leaving Pisces after 14 years, and where the brain rot has gotten us and taken us, and how it really has changed our daily routine, how it's changed our creativity, how it's changed, how we schedule our day or our task and what we think about. And um, I feel, it's a time crunch. It takes away a lot of time. But it's also this automatic habit to be like tuned in and to really be informed or to know what's going on. And I feel like in times of crisis like now, you really have to stay informed because so much shit is happening every day. So much is changing. It's crazy. But I do feel with Venus going back into Pisces, with Mercury going back into Pisces, kind of reflecting on what was going on in February, March, we're getting some of these lessons of like, okay, wow, things are coming full circle. And I think what's really important too is like really realizing that these people are stupid. Like you should not fear them. Do not fear them. And I think we're seeing like the cracks in the foundation, what once seemed really powerful and scary, and it's all a facade of this administration's power and Elon and things like that. And really it's laziness. It's laziness, it's incompetence, it's not thinking 10 steps ahead, only working, one step ahead. My fiance asked me this week, he's like, do you think Trump and his team have an astrologer? And I was like, if they have one, they're not very good. And that's definitely true. But it's also just like you can't rewrite, the stars. You can't, be like, okay, you know what? Actually, the age of Aquarius, Pluto in Aquarius is going to mean this. It's like, no, like this stuff has been studied. It's patterns. We know what's coming. And we know that the people will rise, that people will win. And like a revolution is coming, a civil war is coming. Like we know all those things based off of the past like thousands of years of astrological study. So of course it's going to be a little bit different now. Like what we're seeing is like technology, because Aquarius is technology. We're seeing technology really be effective with what's going on at this revolution and at this time, where the last time we had Neptune Aries, Pluto was in Taurus. So it was a little bit more financial and like it was really on the ground, on the earth. Whereas now we're kind of like seeing this through the screen on our phones or, on our computer or TV. So it's a different type of revolution that has to do with technology and being tuned in. And so it's interesting how we got here through the social media and then how we're using that now with this revolution. And we're modifying it and we're not backing down, and we can have a voice and we can share opinion through these social apps that were popularized with Neptune in Pisces the past 14 years. Yeah, the full moon in Libra, I'm gonna do like a tarot spread for that. So look out for some tarot spreads. My tarot spreads are really good. I spend a lot of time like meditating and doing research to find the right questions to ask the deck based off of the astrological energy, the Sabian symbols. So definitely check those out. I have a couple paid ones for subscribers, but most of them are free for general subscribers. So I will talk a little bit more about the full moon in Libra as that comes up. But let's see here. Juno entering Scorpio. So that's going to be really interesting because Lilith is in Scorpio and now Juno. So we really have now this warrior-esque kind of angry divine feminine energy really kind of being like, hey, don't mess with our rights. Don't, belittle our power. Remember, Pluto in Aquarius is when women rise. And we saw that yesterday with, the Senate win in Wisconsin. So it's really interesting how like Juno has also joined forces in Scorpio with Lilith. And Scorpio is the battlefield. It's the underground. It's also Mars ruled too. It's the traditional ruler of Scorpio. So we have still this warrior-esque battle kind of going on. Um, on the 16th, Mercury will enter Taurus. Will enter Aries. So that's coming up. It's going to go, since it's direct, it's going to go back into Aries. For me, like my natal Mercury is at 5 degrees. So it's just been like a boomerang for me the past month and a half. So I'm going to have one more go in a couple weeks. So that's been an interesting journey. Um, and yeah, sorry, I'm kind of like going all over the place, but yeah, like let me read more of the major ones and we'll go into the mundane. We have on the 18th, we have Mars entering Leo, like finally, oh my gosh, after so many months of like the Mars and Cancer retrograde and everything, it's been a long time coming with Mars re-entering Leo on the 18th, and then the next day Taurus season will begin. So we're going to have that square going on. Um, so yeah, we have the new moon in Taurus on the 27th, and that's at 7 degrees and 47 minutes. And then at the end of the month, we have Venus re-entering Aries. So for all my Venus and Aries return babies, like it's been a journey. It's been very late for you. So just some of the mundane transits. We just have a lot of conjunctions with the North Node and all of this like energy like back into Pisces. So on the 7th, we have Venus retrograde conjuncting Saturn in Pisces. So that's extremely important. Like the 7th is a big day. Mercury's direct in Pisces, and then we have this Venus conjunction before Venus goes direct. And then on uh the 8th, the next day we have Venus sextile Uranus. So we have a little bit of like some smoother energy coming in with Venus, and then Mercury will conjunct the North Node again on the 10th. So it's going to do it on the 4th and it's going to do it on the 10th. So we're just going to be keep on getting like all these lessons come through. All this like karmic energy is really going to be coming through and like processing things and like seeing things, differently. And like we'll kind of see like what was going on with this Mercury retrograde, what retribution will be happening with, certain situations. We have Saturn conjunct the North Node in Pisces. That's on the 21st. Um, and so that Saturn's going to be meeting up with the North Node. So that's going to be really pivotal. And then we have Venus conjuncting the North Node in Pisces again. So it's happening on the 1st, and then it's happening again on the 24th of April. And then Venus is going to be conjuncting Pisces on the 24th at 27 degrees and 14 minutes. So that's going to be happening for a second time as well. So it's just like boom, boom, bang, bang. We're going to be having all of this going on. And then on the 26th, we're going to have Mars opposing Pluto in Leo and Aquarius at 3 degrees and 48 minutes. So that's going to be very interesting. I have a lot of clients who are going through Mars Pluto conjunctions right now. And also Mars opposition. So I think that's going to be a very pivotal time. For my clients there. But yeah, there's so much going on with the astrology in April. I really felt like Aries season is like super monumental. That I feel like this is one of the most important seasons of the year. And the months are just going to keep on getting a little bit more heavier and heavier. We have so much, insane astrology coming up the next several months. So just kind of, have your wits about you. Have a notepad and paper, notepad and pencil in hand to like, kind of keep track of these dates and what's going on. And, take a lot of screenshots of things too, of like memes that you're seeing, try to record like TikTok videos, just really get as much like news coverage of that you can. And like, pivotal moments that kind of speak to this times right now, because this is the stuff that's going to be in history books. These are the things you're going to be showing your children and teaching your children, in 10, 15, 20 years, like, hey, this is what was going on. This is the reality that we were living with. So it's kind of like, Instagram might be our diary entry and journal, but I do think it's important to like have like physical evidence of the things that you're seeing and witnessing, and not just reposting and blindly forgetting the information. And like, have like a Lacey flash drive. They're pricey. They're like $90, but it can store like three computers on one. So I have a couple of them, but I do feel it's important to document the times right now, especially, what we just went, what we're going through, but what's upcoming is like way more intense. Like we're just in the beginning of this revolution. It just started. And we have, 14 more years to go with, Neptune and Aries, yeah, just reflect on that. We're gonna pull some tarot cards here. I am making some chocolate banana bread, so if my timer goes off, I will have to pause this video. But we are just gonna kind of get into the vibes for April. We already know what the mood is. We already know what's going on collectively with this dismal weirdness. Um, let's see. I have a couple of different decks as per usual. The whole picture, the whole spread picture will be on my Substack. So just again, subscribe. If you feel generous to be a paid subscriber, I would really appreciate that. That helps me, continue to write and build time for that platform. But yeah, okay. So we're starting out strong. Tarot's been very direct. The readings have been really good recently. Um, with clients. I mean, they're always great, but I mean, the readings have been like, we're not playing around. The decks are not playing around right now. They're very, very much like in your face. Um, so this is what I have here. So I have the judgment card. And like I said, like things have just begun. This is only the beginning of this 14-year journey with Neptune and Aries. Like literally, we are not there yet. We are still transforming. We have just started shedding our skin. It's very uncomfortable. A lot of people, like I feel like where did we go with Black Lives Matter? Where did we go from 2020 to here? Like people are so upset that they have to be decent, you know? But I just feel like we will not be able to put a band-aid on the horribleness, the history, the horrible viciousness of the history of the United States. We will not be able to put a band-aid on it. It's impossible. We need to be accountable. Not all of us, but majority of the people. People who are in that cult, they need to be held accountable. This is for them. This is their wake-up call. We're going through this. This empire needs to change. This empire needs to go through this unearthing the underground. There's my timer. I'm going to pause this for a moment. All right, I'm back. The banana bread is great. I'll put the recipe in my Substack if you want it. Um, but anyways, yeah, this cleanse, this, what can I say? Like this resurrection of karma really needs to be reflected on. We need to have this dark night of the soul moment. And there's been a lot of avoidance. Usually with the judgment card, it's like you're close, but you're not there yet. And there's still a lot of avoidance. Things are just going to have to get really bad, unfortunately, for people to wake up. That's just what it is. And unfortunately, the people who are already, have been aware, have not been under the influence of a cult and things like that, who have not been taken by hatred, um, based off of differences. I feel like it's gonna like prolong the process, but it's going to come. I mean, not everyone's going to be able to wake up from the spell. White supremacy has been existing for, centuries. Um, and there's, different hate groups evolve over time, but the majority of people will at least get the lesson that it's not okay to, do A, B, and C, D to other people. It's not okay what this administration is doing. We have this joy card here, and I feel like the people who, don't really need this. stay in your joy. Black people, stay in your joy. People of color, stay in your joy. Um, Stay in your joy and stay in joy of other people. Like you don't need this. This is a clear divide. People who need the work, who have refused to do the work and acknowledge, their own hatred and, whatever it is, privilege, this is for them. But I feel like those, who have done their due diligence, have done the right thing, this is for you to step into joy. They will not be rested. They will not be happy or healed until they face their shadow. They're going to be turned off by our joy. They're going to not understand our joy, but it's because we've already dealt with this before. Like this is not new. Um, for the people on this side here. And it's interesting, I have this in my right, I have this card on my left. So, it's really saying like stay in your joy. Don't let other people's shadow work affect you. That's for them. We all have to take our own journey. We all have to take our own course. And no one's perfect. I think, with anything, we all have a shadow we need to reflect on. We all need transformation in some areas. One for me was is limiting my spending. And I haven't stepped foot in a Target in 4 months. I haven't shopped in Amazon in 4 months. So, like, for me, not that I was like I'm not like a shopaholic or anything, but I used to work by a Target, so I would go in maybe once a week or every 2 weeks or something. I would go in at least like once a month. And I was thinking yesterday, I'm like, I haven't really been so avidly in a Target. Um, I never really went to Target that much, honestly. I never really went until I started working by one. But yeah, because they got rid of their DEI, I'm never going back. So yeah, and it's actually not hard to shop at these stores. It's not hard to buy anything from Amazon. And instead, I've been putting that money, aside, saving for my wedding, but also, of course, shopping small and continuing to support small businesses. And I pretty much like 80% of my money goes to small businesses anyways. I don't really shop big brands or things like that, but it is just really interesting how, this is something I'm trying to be better at, is being a more conscious consumer. I always was, but it is just more so like how can, um, I continue to be very conscious and not having that urge of instant gratification of fulfilling a void by trying to, lean into consumerism, and that's capitalism. So, it's like save your resources. So we all have something that we're trying to work on, as well as like, okay, maybe I want to get off of social media. Maybe I want to read more books or things like that. So we all have something, but we all need to make sure that we're leaning into joy at these times, because they want us to forget your joy and lean into fear, because that's how you're controllable. But lean into joy and create joyful experiences with others. Okay. Pulling some mental energy. Not surprising. Mercury is still in retrograde. So we have here air reversed, the element of air. We have the Queen of Swords upright, and then we have the Earth card. So this is what's coming. I do feel like we're seeing the lessons play out. We're seeing the wisdom of Mercury retrograde right now. This is the first, one in the fire signs this year. And then we're going to have one in Leo and then one in Sagittarius, Scorpio in November. So, no, I really do think this is saying is like, let's see the lessons play out in real time. Um, let's really see what we're not seeing. This is a good time to rework, certain things. This is a time to go back to the drawing board, revamp certain, projects that you've been working on, have conversations that were left unsaid. Let's kind of complete and finalize and do the circling back to get this judgment card upright. So, what do we need to do differently? What do we need to think differently? What can we rework to make better? What new ideas and strategies are coming in? It's hard to have foresight at a time like this with Mercury retrograde, but because that's not available, that's not the best option for us. Let's just wait and see what new ideas emerge um, after this retrograde completes itself. Stability of mind is coming. We have the Earth card, so this is a good indication. Like things are going to feel more balanced a little bit, moving into Taurus. And I do feel like we can talk about Earth as stability, as being rooted, as being grounded, making sure that we, ground our mind, make sure that we align the throat, the third eye. Um, it's interesting, like the sword is coming from the head, and it's like, higher power source, our higher consciousness coming down from the crown into the third eye. And I think that this is really saying, let's utilize source, let's utilize spirit to help ground us, to connect us to our root chakra. And let's be very practical minded. We're moving into Taurus. Mercury's going to be moving into Taurus, eventually in a couple weeks. Like, let's make sure that we stay grounded with our mind and we think ahead and we don't deplete our mental and physical resources. Um, just kind of also seeing what you do. It's like, how can we maybe be a little bit more frugal? How can we, make sure we just have our needs met, we have enough? And it might be, making changes to our grocery list. It might be, what, do I really need that? Or, like if I'm undecided, when is the return date? So I know I can try to make a decision before 30 days or something. It's just really seeing like the long term mental thoughts. Also too, Cory Booker has his Mercury in Taurus, so wasn't surprising how like the longevity of conversation there. But I just feel like making sure that you're thinking things out very thoroughly and you're seeing things through. You're thinking 10 steps ahead. You're saving for the rainy day. You're reflecting on how you can be more grounded and stable, with the mind. It's like, are your thoughts stabilizing you? Um, are the conversations you're having grounding? And the more grounded that you are, the easier you're going to be able to help others, through counsel, through, challenge difficulty. And healers, I'm talking to you. It's a very hard time right now to give people guidance when our fundamental structures are, in disarray and in crisis. So, I just feel like ground the mind, ground the body, ground the spirit, take information and source from your higher consciousness and you don't have to rush to make sense of it. You don't have to rush to make decisions and choices. It's Mercury retrograde. We don't have that. And it's also going to be in the shadow period for a little bit too. So, I feel that this is just saying it's like rest easy with the mind. And let's kind of see what type of long-term counsel we can get with what's being downloaded from source. So, yeah. And I feel like I think it's good to just like there's more of this grounded awareness collectively too. Like people know what it is. There's no more question mark now of between right and wrong. There's no more question mark. Like we know that, people have this type of ideology and they think it's okay for, horrible things to happen to good people. Like that's one side of the story. And then the other side of the story is like, people should be held accountable for, their consequences and their wrongdoing. So, there's a lot here, but there's no more question mark. So, we're not spending any more time trying to understand the ideology of a cult. Yeah, that would be for a history documentary in 50 years. But for now, like we know what it is. We know like the gig is up because the mask has been taken off. Like we're no longer shrouded by confusion now that Neptune is in Aries. Um, we have our high priestess here. We have our queen of cups. So, we just have to really trust ourselves this month. And we have a lot of this conjunctions with the North Node. So it's going to be a lot of like reflecting on the past, reflecting on wounding with Pisces, reflecting on, the martyr type energy. So it's just a lot. It's just a lot here that we're kind of faced with. That's why, like, if we're getting any information from source, from our intuition, it's going to come from above. It's not going to come from, this solar plexus. It's going to come from above, not below. I think a lot of what the work is going to be is people waking up. And we have to be patient with a spiritual reckoning. And that's really what this is with the Queen of Cups reverse and the High Priestess. And um, we knew as healers this was coming, that we would have to hold space for those who worked against us. It's kind of like, we can talk about Christianity, Jesus, forgiving his enemies, forgiving the ones who betrayed him, Judas, and putting him on the cross to die. Like we're gonna have to live that moment. And that is definitely the North Node in Pisces. We're going to have to forgive. We're going to have to accept the manipulation of 14 years in the making with Neptune and in Pisces, and we're gonna have to do this work. We're gonna have to, unfortunately, be involved in this shadow because we can't just shun 50 million people. I mean, I don't even know if that many people really voted for him. We can't really trust the accounts because there was election interference that they don't want to still prosecute. But it's just like, unfortunately, we're going to have to remain in our joy as we help bring people into the light. And I think that's a lot of the big work. Like people are waking up, people are having regret for what they've done. But at least they've woken up. At least they're now able to fight and hopefully not get re-indoctrinated because that's something that we're going to have to think about. And I feel like no one is talking about this, is that when you're leaving a cult and you're sensitive, like this is kind of like one of my favorite movies is Martha, Marcy, May, Marlene, with Elizabeth Olsen. It was like her first movie, and this came out in like 2010, 2011, which is actually interesting. That's really interesting. With when Neptune went into Pisces is when this movie was released. But it's about Elizabeth Olsen's character leaving a cult, and um, she yeah, she escapes, and then she's having a lot of PTSD and things like that. So we're gonna have to hold space for people who are withdrawing. But like if any, type of circumstance where you lost your will, you lost your mind, you lost like your self-esteem, all the things, you can easily falter back into that old mentality. And that's what I really feel like we have to have patience. And like I'm not really sensing any major like harshness here. Like I haven't really pulled any wands yet, but I just kind of have this feeling like this month more people are going to be waking up. More people are going to be regaining consciousness from the hive mind. And then, they're going to be asking for forgiveness. They're going to be like, okay, like, can I be back in your good gracious? And we're going to have to be like, no one in the revolution is going to be perfect, but at least if they're on our side to fight, we need people, we need numbers, we need each other, we the people to go after all of the disarray that is this administration before things get even more dire and worse. And like we're kind of heading there. But I do feel, yes, we're gonna have to hold space as healers. And I've already have clients who voted for Trump, and they don't have communication with their family. They have like they're losing their jobs. They're going through a lot, and they're like waking up, and then they're still kind of in this phase of blaming Elon for this. Like they're still not ready to attack their false prophet, but they're at least being like, "Oh, shit isn't making sense." So I think this is definitely where we can't be discriminatory against people who were in a cult. We're going to have to remind ourselves of our humanity. And that's something we have to think about too, as AI is continuing to like infiltrate the collective. We have to remember our humanity. That's going to be a huge one. That's going to be the age of Aquarius, the next battle that's coming, but we're not there yet. That might be in 10 years. So I'm going to post some more cards here. Okay, so yeah, we're gonna have to find balance. It's not gonna be a perfect balance, but it's gonna be a balance, and this is going to keep us grounded in the earth. So we're gonna have to find balance with the opposition within ourselves and with other people. So the balance is being restored and coming. And I think this is too, it's just the collective balance, the karmic balance being restored. There's been a lot of heartbreak with the Three of Swords here, but it's more of like a mental one. Like we're still in swords energy. So, you know, yeah, but it's like we're kind of past understanding. We just have to get to the healing points at this time. We just have to get to, you know what? I don't need a play-by-play of why you did this. I'm glad that you recognized it was wrong. And now let's work together to get things right again, to get things, forward, moving forward so that we can be stronger and better together than ever. That's what we really need to do. Because there's no trying to, when someone's in a cult, they're not in their right mind. So it's kind of a waste of breath to understand that because they lost their sense of self and ideology there. So the Three of Swords is like, it's disappointing, but we have Saturn here. Saturn is the taskmaster. Saturn is time, the time lord. Saturn is karma. And it's been we have to take our time. We have to find some patience. Like we're in Earth. We're gonna be moving into Earth soon this month with Taurus. And there's gonna be more grounded for us to have more acceptance. We got to get angry first. We got to lash things out. We got to communicate. But then we also have to remember with Aries, it's kind of a little bit of a danger of running your mouth because you get yourself in trouble. So, we also have to make sure like we're not facing verbal consequences based off of our yap. But I do think the Three of Swords here is really saying like it's unfortunate, but this is teaching something. All of us are learning from each other. And a lot of us, and I've been saying this again, this is not my lesson to learn, but in some way, shape, or form, we got to move through this judgment energy together. And even though it might not be us who need the judgment day, and it's other people's whose judgment day are coming, we still have to make sure that we're holding space for people to pass through, the other side with us. So we can't ask for help and then take away the bridge, that was in the way of the gap. So we need to kind of put aside our ego. We have to put aside criticism and instead of saying like I told you so, we just have to be like, you know what, I'm glad these people are waking up. So like my fiance the other day, he was like, yeah, we're going to be going to war soon and we should start, continuing to stock up on things. And part of me was like, I've been trying to tell you for a year now with the astrology that this is happening. And we need to, start stocking up on things because things are going to get more expensive. And now you've realized and you're starting to get into astrology and realize that, yeah, but I could have said, I told you, a year ago that this was going to be happening. But I'm like, you know what? I'm glad you found it on your own time. I'm glad you're starting to get a little bit interested in astrology. But yeah, in my mind, I'm like, I kind of told you this, and I've been actively stocking things and buying like double and triple when I can of things, and it's been nice. So that's also another reason why I'm not going to the store when you have stock. But but yeah, it's just people are going to find awareness in their own time, however it may be. But I do feel like we have to have patience. We can't, be combative, even though that energy is there. But it's just, yeah, like we're gonna have to find a balance and it may not be perfect, but it's balanced nonetheless. Okay. So I'm just gonna pull two more cards here. I don't want this reading to be too long, but I think, we're really getting the gist of things right now. Um, so we have our Ten of Wands and then we have growth. And this is how we're going to end here for April. So, and it's so interesting. I didn't really pull any fiery energy, but I think it's already existing. It's just taking a different form. So we have our Ten of Wands. Well, I mean, I guess this is fiery, but this is reflecting on our burdens, and we need to let go of our burdens. We need to again, take accountability for things that have been heavy on our heart and have been weighing on us. There could be a lot of breakthrough conversations happening. I think that is something that we're going to continue to see. The Sun in Sagittarius is the astrological ruler of the Ten of Wands. And this is, kind of what I was saying. Like, let's reflect on these Mercury retrogrades and the fire signs, because a lot of what's happening, we're going to see it trickle down in the next retrograde in July, and then we're going to see it happen in Sagittarius season. So in November. So yeah, I think there's a lot of growth that we're witnessing. And, this card too, it has the Taurus symbol. So I think this is really relative of this Taurus season. There's a lot of growth, but this growth is really going to be having more empathy, having more openness, giving people what they couldn't give themselves, and holding grace, holding open the door for grace for people. And, sometimes we can't always expect that in return. We've known, this is probably some of the lesson that we learned, and this is part of the Three of Swords. Like, we learned that, they always says, like, do unto others as you want others to do unto yourself. And it's just like, we realize that that might not always be the case, but we still can't give up on people. We still have to allow people to find the light and work hard to try to find some solidarity and togetherness, because we all want the same thing, which is a good life. And some people don't want that for other people. We've noticed that, but eventually we realize, like, we can't be anything without community. And that is what the Pluto in Aquarius is all about, is community and coming together with our imperfections, with our individuality, to make something new and make something better for the future. And we're going to be able to find that growth and have more stable growth and get planted into the earth now that we have more awareness and people are waking up from their spells. People are healing. People are regaining their consciousness, regaining their empathy, and finding more of a spiritual pursuit. Aries is the spiritual warrior, but first we have to get ourselves out of the mental entrappings of it could be religion, it could be a cult, like any way that we were mentally and emotionally imprisoned in the 12th house with the North Node in Pisces. We have to release ourselves, and we need to heal, and we have to focus on our growth and making sure that we're staying in reality. And that's something here in the middle of the spread is the Queen of Swords. So, breathe easy, remember your joy, find moments to, engage and then disengage from a lot of the travesty around you. But at least, people are waking up, people are joining forces to make, this horribleness go away, and some of the horribleness that they brought upon themselves. But we can't abandon each other. So that is the reading for April. Not what I anticipated, but I feel like it's making sense with the astrological timeline and the energy and just kind of what we're navigating collectively. But I feel a sense of hope. I feel a sense of like deep healing and uncomfortableness and pain and, a lot of that. But I also feel hope that things can now get better, and, really believing that people can change and people can learn from their mistakes. It's not going to happen, all at once, for people, but it can slowly start trickling down, the collective, where this is happening. So that is the reading. Thank you so much for, subscribing and supporting my work. If you want a reading with me, I'm open for readings. And yeah, thank you so much. I hope this resonated with you, and check out my Substack for pictures and all the things. So thank you so much, and I will see you soon.